Dave had always been adventurous, and on this particular night, he decided to take a shortcut through the dense forest to reach his friend's cabin. The GPS promised to shave off a good hour from his journey. The moonlight filtered through the trees, casting eerie shadows on the winding, narrow path. Dave had driven for what seemed like hours when he noticed something unusual. An old, dilapidated house nestled among the trees. It seemed out of place in this remote wilderness. Curiosity got the better of him, and he pulled over to investigate. As he approached the house, the wind whispered through the trees, creating an unsettling symphony. The house was in terrible disrepair, with shattered windows and an air of abandonment. Dave's footsteps on the creaky porch echoed through the silence. Suddenly, his phone buzzed with a notification. Glancing at the GPS, he was baffled to see that it indicated he was still on the right path. Puzzled, he turned back to his car. But when he reached the road, it wasn't the forest path he had driven down earlier. It was the same winding road leading to the Eerie house. Panicking, Dave attempted to turn around, but every direction he went, he found himself back in front of the same abandoned house. It was as if the forest itself conspired to trap him in this sinister loop. Fear gnawed at his insides as the night wore on, and he realized that the only way out was to turn off the GPS, trusting his instincts to guide him. With trembling hands, he powered down his phone and drove blindly into the dark forest. Hours passed, and dawn finally broke, revealing a path that led him out of the cursed woods. Dave emerged from the forest, shaken and disheveled, but finally free from the haunting loop. He vowed never to trust shortcuts through unfamiliar places again, as the memory of that nightmarish drive would forever linger, a chilling reminder of the terrors that can lurk in the darkest corners of the unknown. Dave's ordeal haunted him long after he reached his friend's cabin. He couldn't shake the feeling that the forest had a malevolent presence that night, one that toyed with his sense of direction and sanity. He shared the terrifying tale with his friend, who nodded knowingly. Local legends told of a spectral force that protected the forest from trespassers, guiding them endlessly in circles until they were lost forever. Dave's decision to trust his instincts rather than the GPS was his saving grace, but the memory of those. The night was inky black, and Mark was driving alone along a desolate highway. The only company he had was the rhythmic thrum of his tires on the road and the soft hum of the radio playing low. He knew this route well, having taken it many times before, but this time felt different. As he rounded a bend, his headlights sliced through the darkness, revealing a lone figure at the side of the road. It was a woman, her silhouette illuminated by the car's headlights. Her thumb was outstretched, signaling for help. Mark's sense of empathy kicked in, and he decided to be a good Samaritan. He slowed down and pulled over, the engine's rumble falling silent. The woman approached his car, her face obscured by the hood of her cloak. She didn't speak, but climbed into the back seat with an unsettling grace. "Are you all right?" Mark asked, his voice wavering slightly. No response. He glanced at her in the rearview mirror, but her face remained hidden in the shadows. The drive continued in eerie silence. Mark couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. He asked again if she needed any help, or if she had a destination in mind, but the hitchhiker remained silent as the miles passed. Growing increasingly uneasy, Mark decided to pull into a gas station to gather his thoughts and perhaps offer some assistance more directly. He parked the car, turned around, and was met with a horrifying sight. The back seat was empty. The hitchhiker had vanished, leaving nothing but a chilling emptiness. His heart raced, and panic set in. He looked around the empty gas station lot, but there was no sign of the mysterious woman. Mark couldn't explain what had just happened. With trembling hands, he locked the car doors, started the engine, and sped away, leaving the gas station and the enigmatic hitchhiker behind. The memory of that night would haunt him for years to come, a phantom hitchhiker forever etched into his mind, a spectral encounter on a dark and lonely road. Mark's journey continued, but his once familiar route felt alien, haunted. He couldn't shake the eerie sensation that someone or something was still with him in the car. Every rustling leaf or creaking branch seemed amplified. A sense of dread clung to him like a suffocating shroud. Then, just as he approached his destination, the radio crackled to life, emitting an otherworldly static. He couldn't make out the words, but the voice was unmistakable. The hitchhiker's voice, a spectral whisper.